The Love Affair event is back at Whole Foods Market through Valentine's Day with sales to help you celebrate that special someone. Set the tone with gifts like scented candles and Whole Foods Market's 24-stem bunch of roses. Skip the reservation and make a sizzling surf and turf with deals on quality steaks, lobster tails, and more. Dessert pro tip? You'll find their chocolate-covered strawberries in the bakery department. Feel the love with delicious savings at Whole Foods Market.
Valentine's Day's fast approaching, and you don't want to find yourself grabbing a heart-shaped box of chocolates, do you? Why not a smaller box with a heart-shaped sapphire pendant necklace from Jared Jewelers inside? Shop Jared now for select diamond fashion and Italian gold jewelry for your Valentine. After all, life may be like a box of chocolates, but love is like a box with a Jared Jewelers logo on it. This Valentine's Day, be the he who went to Jared. Now get 40% off select fashion jewelry. Visit jared.com/radio for details.
Ask me, ask Iliza anything. It's time to ask. Ask me all your questions. Leave them in the Instagram comment section. Leave them on your Twitter or leave them on your Facebook. We'll see them, we'll read them, then we'll give you answers. You know it, I've got it. I've got the answer. You ask me, I'll tell you anything.
This is the earliest we've ever recorded a podcast.
We haven't done any other morning ones?
No, and I am a morning person.
Especially, I feel like now that you have kids, I'm like, yeah, I can text her whenever because she's probably awake.
No, it's not that. But I just had like 3 things back to back, and you have a job. And so it was really hard to carve out this hour. And then you were like, I can do it right now. And I was like, I can do it right now too. So,
well, I know, you know what's so funny is when I suggest, do you want to do it in the morning? It's like, no. But if I'm like, right now it's the morning, let's go. You're like, all right, it's right now. I'll do it right now.
that's how I live the bulk of my life. I'm a spontaneous person, not in a fun way. Not a spontaneous, like, let's go to Cabo. I'm like a spontaneous, like, I need to go get a pedicure. Do you want to come right now? And if you can't, that's why I don't see a lot of people, because I'm like, it's my schedule or we can't do it.
Right. I mean, you only have so much time in a day. So I I was like, oh, Eliza's texting me in the morning. I bet I can get her to record right now and knock it out and then go about her busy life. The problem is your busy life relies on you, right? Like anything you're doing, you have to be there because it's your thing. Anything I'm doing is I just have to be there present so that no one gets mad at me, but equally important.
I've got to be there or these wheels don't turn. This butter doesn't get churned. Do you think
I gotta go churn butter?
Someone was like, I'm going to turn my butter. And someone's like, did you say churn? And it became churn. Like, why would turn and churn be so similar and sound alike?
Churn to me is so specific, but I just saw something about a news article. It's like, we found more ancient butter in a peat bog. And I was like, why am I getting served these? Where they just find like 1,000-year-old butter lumps in the swamp.
Well, they're like, it's a For You page.
That's true. My algorithm is butters.
Bog bodies are no joke. Have you ever like listened to lore or like read about these things? It's in Ireland.
Things get preserved.
It's like whole bodies in a way that nothing else has been preserved because of the peaty bog.
I just got shown an image yesterday, probably because I clicked on the butter one. That was a sheep who was in a bog dead. His body's preserved, but his little back was poking out of the bog. And so it's skeleton. And then the rest of him is fur, sheep fur.
Welcome back, folks, to What's in That Bog? The show. I mean, this is what we should be using on our faces.
This, though, I feel like is how people listen to the podcast know that we actually know each other. You know what I mean? You and people form a podcast around kind of like, they're like, we think, hopefully these two women have a similar audience and they'll get along and can talk about a crime or whatever. They wouldn't be talking about lumps that were found in bogs. That's a genuine shared interest we're discovering.
Okay, so here's the truth. I actually struggle to have conversations with most people because often it's not the thing I want to talk about. Like, I really don't love small talk. And it's not about talking about me or anything like that, but like surface level conversations or even stuff about kids, I kind of don't care. If it's a direct question and you have the information versus just offloading to me things about your kid.
Mhm.
I struggle with that. And I also like deeply, deeply don't ever want to talk about this Blake Lively thing again. And I, to this day, still know very little, but am annoyed at how much I get served. But if you come up to me and you're like, I actually possess an entire phonetics guide for all of Gaelic and I'm like a master of Uralic languages, I'd be like, oh my God, I have so many questions. If you're a history professor, I'd be like, I have so many questions. But in general, I tend, or if you really want to talk about like politics or you know something I don't know, but in general, I really struggle with just surface level conversations. And I find that they kind of like drain me, like, you know, the energy vampire in What We Do in the Shadows. I walk into a party, I'm like, I can't do this. I have to leave. It's not like I'm some scholar that's like hungering, I thirst for knowledge. I just like, I want to get into something deep and social. I want to know about social practices. I want to talk to a scientist. Other than that, it's just like, well, I picked up McKinley at 2. She didn't eat her cupcake.
See, I'm very good at the fake song and dance. And so when I go places with my parents, my only friends, they're like, wow, you're so good at people just love you. Oh, you're so, and I'm like, it's an act. Anybody could do this. It's not like, you just have to do the fake thing.
Most people don't want to get into it about something, but just, I'm down. I also, yesterday, I realized absolutely how much I hate when I get asked where my children are or where one of my children is. It's an unhinged question because this idea that children are with their mothers in 2025, 24/7 is just so insultingly antiquated and weird.
No, they're trying to figure out where that big baby is in case he's going to come stop down their skyrise.
If Ethan is around, you will see him.
Right.
So if he's not there, he's not there. Leave me alone.
He's like a Jurassic Park dinosaur and the water is shaking and making concentric circles.
Yeah, you'll know. You'll know when he's there. Just oceans of drool and a big smile. All right. That's it. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to have, you know, at a party, someone that wants to talk to you. And I'm like, well, let's get to the root of this. Like, what is it? I want to talk about, not like in a lesbian way, like let's hold hands and talk about our trauma and move in together. But like in a, like, let's get to some real, I want to have real conversations with people.
I want to set people up for success here, though, when they think that when they see you in the streets, they can have a real conversation with you. You don't want to have a conversation about things that you already know you don't want to have a conversation about. You like a thing that's brand new to you. You don't want to talk about movies. You don't want to talk about cats. You don't want to talk about
a movie I've seen, and we can have that conversation. I hate when people talk about movies I haven't seen. I'm here for a genuine experience, and I think that is why I struggle in Hollywood, because most people don't connect. Most people can't. Like, I don't want the surface level. Like, I want to get in there, and I really like connecting with people. And I think that's why I work with my fans. There's a connection, whether we know each other or not. But if a fan comes up to me and they tell me something horrible, like, I hate to say this, but like, I will hold space for that for a minute to like really sit with you versus like, okay, well, I hope that leukemia gets good. Gotta go.
Hope it gets good.
Hope it gets real good.
Prayers up.
Prayers up, y'all. You want to tell me you love Jesus? I would love to hear why. Because I don't get it. I would love to hear why.
I realized that. I feel like as a kid, I was like an annoying atheist where I was kind of like, oh, it's dumb. But now I'm kind of like, that's great. I wish that I had that confidence in something.
No,
Seems nice.
You're still that annoying. You're like,
I'm annoying about similar things, but I definitely am more. As long as someone's not being a weirdo, I'm like, that's actually great for you. And you have something that I don't, which is a faith in something.
You have faith in things. You do. But if we really got into it, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe you're just donut crumbs and big gulps. I don't know. Do you believe in...
You can't combine a gulp and a... No, I think
you got to wash it down. That was going to be my bottom of the cob. People saying wash it down.
Oh, if they say wash or if they say wash?
Either way.
You know what? I hate when people say rough instead of roof. I don't care if that's your accent. It's wrong.
No, that's dumb.
It makes me mad.
That's a real dumb one. That's the roof. Or woof instead of wolf. It's a big woof, a big old woof.
Library. There's a lot that I think of as like very Southern.
Well, there's a difference between an affectation and like, oh, you're dumb.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day, like someone told you wrong. That's not, if you replace hard consonants with other hard consonants, I don't know. I don't know if that's an accent. But I do know I glanced at our Patreon in my efforts to take Instagram off my phone and look at other things.
Yeah.
So I know we got questions and follow-ups. We got all kinds of gems.
Yeah, they're all right. They're doing all right out there. Well, let's do a follow-up and then we can decide if we want to address the Canadian trade war with a question for you about that. But let's start with a follow-up.
Sure.
A follow-up from something that happened 6 months ago. So I will give you the 6 months ago question. June 2024.
Would you call me?
Can I say, how are you? I am so scared of saying Jew wrong.
How else would you say it?
Right. Like, I don't know.
You know what? You know when you mispronounce it, when you say dirty Jew, that makes it feel hostile.
That's the problem. That's when it's an issue.
You can say Jew. You know what? Just try saying Jewish. Try using the adjective form, not the noun.
I feel like Jewish is like,
Jew is an accusation.
There's something
100%.
about it.
Yeah, there's something about it.
Even though it's just,
You can do it though. It really, we are big context people.
You've given me permission. Right now I have a Jew pass.
I hate that.
This isn't that upsetting.
I hate it. I hate when other Jews say Jew-fro or Jew camp. It always feels self-hating, which most of them are. Let's just move past it. I feel like we're losing. Even the Jewish fans are like, we got it.
We know you're want to use Jewish. We know.
It's the cat. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the question that was asked is 27-year-old, married for 6 years, no kids, like they were in the military since college, lived apart a bit, like seemed like a solid, great couple. But our woman who wrote in is looking for a job, trying to get like a job in her field. And every time that they move, she has to find another job and it's hard to do. And he likes getting to go wherever for military stuff. So she said, how do I politely go about telling my husband he should be grateful for me? I feel like this whole process would be easier if I felt like he saw and recognized the career sacrifices I've made in support of him, which, So we gave whatever answer we gave. I don't remember. I'm sure it was great.
Something about an affair, but like keep it flirty. It was something really normal.
Start cheating with other people. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Eliza, let me just say that now more than ever, I am so grateful for your podcast and your humor and insights every week.
It's all I have left since he divorced me because I stood up for myself. No.
Well, I have a positive follow-up on my question you answered over 6 months ago in the episode titled, If I Die, Use My Body for Food. And thank you for telling us what episode. And also, I like our episode titles.
People go back and listen.
Right. Go
Use
listen.
that BetterHelp code.
After hearing your advice and your incisive comment, what do you really want? Sounds incisive.
Sounds like
I sat with that question for a while. You really made me take a look at myself and my situation in a new way. You were right. At the end of the day, it wasn't about being appreciated. I wanted to feel heard and understood and find a job I didn't hate. As I started yet another job that was a poor fit with even worse compensation simply because they were the first offer. Oh yeah, the husband was like, okay, you just got to take a job and like not wait for better offers. I decided to have a conversation with my husband from a level-headed space and not charged as you advised. I told my husband that I felt pressured to accept jobs in the past, and I explained a big stressor for me is trying to apply and interview for jobs while currently working and negotiating an incredibly time-consuming unit transfer for my reserves obligation to a new state. My husband actually surprised me by offering to complete at least the online portion of a couple of job applications I had saved using my job finding app, profile, and resume. After a more extensive conversation, my husband and I both commiserated on how frustrating the move process has been, and I felt so much better after the conversation. My husband said he has felt like he always has to look on the bright side about our moves because it's, quote, his fault we're moving in the first place. I explained I don't tell him about the difficulties to make him feel guilty, but more so I can feel validated emotionally. I think overall we're in a much better place relationship-wise now that we've taken the time to understand where the other was coming from. I'm happy to say almost 5 months into my new job from one of the applications my husband started for me, and it's much better fit. Thank you for all you are and all that you do. Anonymous.
I think sometimes I love that. And I think especially for women, sometimes we're like, no, I'll do the shitty thing. I just really want to be heard. Like, no, I'll do it. I really just want to vent. And that's such a huge part of being a girl is that need to feel seen and feel heard. I feel like men are very, put your head down, just be miserable, go do it. I got to do it. And he was over there feeling sad and guilty about his part in all of this. And it was coming out probably in a weird way. We do have this theme of like, women being afraid to talk to their husbands. And
their friends. Everyone's afraid to talk to everybody.
But about being heard, like it's at the end of the day, at least you will have been heard. But yeah, sometimes you're like, it's like going to work out. You're like, this sucks. But if I have someone to commiserate, or if we both are acknowledging it sucks, it somehow makes it better. Misery loves company. I hate that I just said that, but it really is true. And I don't mean to tell you how to live, but if your husband's in the military and you're moving around, you know who would love your volunteer hands? The USO. It runs on volunteers. I'm sure you've thought of that. Okay.
Well, and I like this combination of like, she just wanted to be able to vent and him to like hear her, but also he was able to do kind of the more traditional guy thing of, I want to fix this problem for you, which was he did the admin work of filling out those applications, which is such a pain in the ass when you're just recopying from your own resume. That's so great. Like that's the way he can help.
He's like, babe, I made you 6'6" and said you're an expert in octopi. Let's see what happens.
Right.
But it's also the thing about talking to, like, you never know who's going to have that resource or that ability. I mean, I found that with a lot of women in my life. If I vent about something, I have a friend who is a publicist in New York. Her name is Jolie, and she's awesome.
Oh, yeah, she's cool.
I was really stressed out about like this trip, and I was having an issue with the hotel, and she was like, I'll just grab it for you. And she grabbed it. And obviously I paid her, like I just paid her for it. But like, she was like, I'll just put it on my card. Let me know if you want it or not. I can always cancel it. Like it was like this complex thing, like how people will step up, how people are not having the same stresses as you, and your stress may not be a big deal to them. Anyways, I love that. I love that it worked. That's what's great about our podcast, when people listen to me.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp.
Ask Iliza Anything talks a lot about relationships, your relationship with yourself, with society, with friends, bridesmaids. We always talk about red flags, right? The friend that gets too drunk and doesn't care. The boyfriend who says he's not ready to get engaged, but you've been dating for 15 years, stuff like that. What if we focused more on looking for green flags? And if you're not sure what they look like, therapy can help you identify those green flags, actively practicing them in your relationships, and embody the green flag energy yourself. Whether you're dating, married, building a friendship, entering a new work environment, or just working on yourself, it's time to form relationships that love you back. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. And you can access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. You can easily switch therapists at any time, no extra cost. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Iliza to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Iliza.
The truth about success is that it's not about grinding 24/7. I know Motivation Mondays and male podcasts will tell you to be on your grind, but the truth is it really is about strategic self-care. And that's where Alo Moves comes in. Whether it's a morning meditation, an evening stretch, an afternoon yoga class, a cardio blast, Alo Moves has everything you need right there to reset and still conquer your day. I'm a fitness enthusiast. I'm also enthusiastic about driving myself crazy, doing 4 more jobs beyond what I talk about on this podcast, touring, being there for my family. And the one thing that I have learned these last few years is that if I don't make the time to get centered, no one will make it for me. So whether you're just starting out or you're super advanced, Alo Moves has classes from 5 minutes to an hour for whatever you need, because everybody has 5 minutes. It's your complete wellness toolkit in one place. I love throwing on Alo Moves if I'm in a hotel room. I've even done it in a green room. A quick Pilates class, sometimes even just a meditation or a stretch class is just the thing that I need to get into the zone. Reset your personal wellness routine with Alo Moves. Go to alomoves.com now and use code Iliza for an exclusive 30-day free trial and enjoy 20% off an annual membership. That's alomoves.com, code Iliza. alomoves.com, code Iliza.
It's the start of a new year, and it's always nice to refresh. We have too many things in our lives that are cheap, poorly made, and we just keep buying and rebuying. I am all about buying things that last a long time of quality, and I don't necessarily want to pay the quality price. Let me tell you about Quince. Now, you've heard me talk about their Mongolian cashmere sweaters and their clothes and their jewelry, but did you know that Quince also has essential items for your home? 100% mulberry silk pillowcases, eye masks. They have flatware. They have incredible items made from quality materials, and they're at a low price. I mean, you can get rugs for your house, art for your walls, all at affordable prices. And because Quince partners directly with top factories, they cut out the costs of the middleman and they pass those savings on to you. Upgrade your closet this year without the upgraded price tag. Go to quince.com/Iliza for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/Iliza to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Iliza.
Okay, do you want to address the Canadian trade war
Why?
and how it relates to our podcast? Because this question
Okay,
is
you didn't
kind
say
of
that.
interesting.
You just said, do you want to address that? And I'm like,
Well, because that's the question.
you mean the 51st state? Canada,
Yeah,
as Donald Trump is threatening?
Yeah. It's like, no, let us be your new province.
Why would I want, no. And why would we want a state that is like twice the size of the United States, half of it uninhabited? Like, what am I going to do with that? Other than you're close to Russia, I guess. Why don't we just occupy that little top part up there?
Yeah. Okay.
Was it
Hello.
Seward's Folly up there? Isn't that that's the thing over by Alaska. We already have that. You know what?
We already have Alaska.
Don't listen to me.
We have the one good piece. We don't want the rest. Hello, AIA crew. I am a Canadian woman in my 50s. I started listening to podcasts during the pandemic and have not missed an episode since. Iliza, I love you. And Emily. Oh, I love you and Emily, and I love the podcast.
And Emily, you're there.
I thought she was going to say, Iliza, I love you. And Emily, I love the podcast. But no. Here is my dilemma. On February 1st, President Trump declared economic warfare against Canada with the announcement of 25% tariffs on most imports from my country. This is a betrayal of America's closest friend and ally. And then she talks about what that means. I wonder how much the American public is aware of what's going on, the implications for them. My sister-in-law was in the U.S. this past weekend and couldn't access live news that reported on this. She can only get access to our written Canadian news to find out what's going on. Canadians have the reputation of being nice, and we are. But we have our line, and it has been crossed. So the U.S. government, led by President Trump, can FAFA, fuck around and find out. That's FAFO.
Yeah. It is.
We are not going to roll over and let you fuck us in the ass without a fight. Swearing is not part of my daily vocabulary. This is how angry I am feeling.
What is
because we're getting into how to support the podcast. Beyond what the government is doing with counter-retaliation tariffs, part of our fight as individual Canadians will be to stop buying American products and stop traveling to the U.S. This is a David and Goliath situation. Since I will not be purchasing products made in the U.S. or frequenting stores of U.S. companies, I feel like it would be hypocritical not to also cut off services created in the U.S., including podcasts like yours.
Okay. Well,
Iliza, what should I do? What would you do if you were me?
I'll tell you.
And then Suzanne, a loyal fan, is feeling conflicted and angry. And then she says, I do see the irony, and then I have to continue to listen to podcasts if I want to hear Eliza's response. And I want to say, Iliza, are you going to say what I'm going to say, which is, this is free?
Yeah. Are you getting those BetterHelp services? Are you buying earrings from Quince, Susan?
What do you
Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say.
Suzanne, excuse you.
Sorry, Suzanne. The downside of living in a democracy is that you have to go along with the plan, even if you didn't vote for it. Here's what I'll say, Suzanne. I am fiercely pro-choice, and I am angry at states that have elected to have strong abortion bans and weird abortion laws. Anything other than you're completely pro-choice, you can get your abortion within a reasonable amount of time.
Right.
Upsets me. But I still choose to tour in those states because I realize that there are people who have been taken political hostage by this. And there are plenty of good people who are there who didn't want this, who still need a show, and plenty of people who still need comedy regardless. Mm-hmm. You know, we are not necessarily our government. I cannot say that the will of the people is always carried out with every bit of this democratic process. So to not support me is making me pay for a president I didn't vote for. And I still have to take it online. I got to take it on the chin online from people who get mad. They're like, see, you didn't vote for him and you're a bitch. And so because I was public about what I was feeling, which was that I didn't want to vote for him. So now I'm getting it from fans like you who are rightfully upset. And I have to listen to conservatives randomly get mad because I didn't vote for their God. Like, I don't know what you want from me. I'm not a political person. Not listening to me really only hurts me. It doesn't hurt my country and it doesn't hurt our president. So, but you know what? I understand having your ethics and drawing a line, and I get that. The other side is no one will know if you just listen to this one pod, but you don't buy anything American.
Right. You don't buy anything off the ads. And
but do, because they might be based in Costa Rica. You don't know.
I mean, that's the problem is that I would love to not use Facebook and Instagram because I think Zuckerberg is a dumbass, but I can't not use those things. I work in marketing and so, you know what I mean? Like so I can cut out certain things. There are certain companies I don't buy from. I think there are boycotts and there are boycotts, which is then go support the things that do matter. Support local Canadian stuff. Like buy things from companies that do what you want.
We're talking
While we're not charging you, I don't know that canceling listening to a free podcast is. Now, look, if it's really means something to you and you feel bad listening, great. But I don't.
She doesn't feel
I think
bad.
there's other things you could do.
She doesn't feel bad. And what will end up happening, and I feel this, if I can relate to you for a second, environmentally, do I do things that are damaging to the environment? Sure. But I find sometimes the measures I want to take actually only end up costing me more and make my life harder because people aren't doing them en masse. You know, what we all should be doing is not buying from China. That's what we should be doing. They give zero fucks about the environment. It's just asbestos and lead and garbage. And yet everything from Amazon is, you almost cannot get a product that does not come to you from China. So if we were all moving in mass to boycott certain things, and you see it, you know, with certain boycotts of products or certain movements and stuff like that. But if it's just you, you have to ask yourself, is this only harming me? And am I just screaming into a void?
Yeah.
And that's the issue with helping the environment is people are like, well, it's just my straw and it's just my cup and companies need to stop pouring oil. It's like, yeah, but if we all stopped buying it together, like if we all took on that, then there would be a product that was more environmentally sustainable. But at the end of the day, it is just you. Like it is just me physically going to the store and buying the marked up organic version, recycled version. And it's not necessarily better and it's just more expensive and the big company doesn't care. So that's my answer is you'll really only be hurting yourself and us. And I'm pretty sure we're kind of on the same side here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like cutting off your nose to spite your face, you know?
Right. And I would say this, by the way, about any podcast, not just this podcast. If it's free and you're not giving money, like, who cares?
Stopping listening to this because you don't like our commander-in-chief really negates all the work I've put in, keeping in mind that I've never skipped an episode, even when I've given birth to two children.
Although, now if you were on this podcast and every week you were like, I think he's doing so good and I hate Canada and I hope that we invade them, that would be a different story.
For what it's worth, I think all of these bombastic, crazy things are being said because it's a distraction from something else horrible that we won't fully understand until it happens, until we wake up and it's like, oh, we've all been padlocked inside our homes. Cool.
Yeah. What am I going to do if I get padlocked in here?
You're fine. I think you're like, I wish. I wish.
Please don't come padlock me in my house, government.
Suzanne, we respect you. We'd love for you to stay. But if you really feel you need to draw your line in the sand, I also not respect it, but I guess I get it. So you do what you need to do, but we'd love to have you stay. And you don't
disrespect it. You feel neutral.
I might get to a place where I disrespect it if it turns out that one listener is what puts us under
cancel the show.
Like the 30,000 mark or some weird mark, just something. Yeah.
This show that you make like $0 off.
That's not true.
I mean, you have fun doing it.
I make money off this or I don't. Whatever makes me more likable.
I think not making money and doing it for the love of it.
There we go. It's a nonprofit. This is basically a 501(c)(3).
Well, they know that it's my Make-A-Wish.
It's just to be with her.
Yeah, once a week you have to spend 60 minutes with me and you're like, I might as well.
I'll tell you what though, Suzanne, I bet you there's a lot of American listeners right now that are like, I just needed a reason to hate Canada, a real one, and now it comes in the form of Suzanne. I get it.
Suzanne, Canada's ambassador.
Suzanne, I also have to say, you know, I'm not above drawing my line in the sand where it only affects me and no one else. There was how do I put this without saying the names? There was basically a company that made something that I needed for my daughter's birthday, and I ordered it. And then I saw on this account I follow that profiles that kind of posts about not people who were like outwardly anti-Semitic, like show up at protests, say that they hate Israel, like really make a show of it. This company did a collab with Huda Beauty. And you guys know that brand, Huda, right? So she makes a lot of makeup and she's got this huge global brand and she's like an open hater of Israel and an anti-Semite. And this company that I was ordering something from did a collab with her. And so I just very quietly canceled my order. Not saying that that company is anti-Semitic, but like you got to know who you're doing business with. And if this woman's going to go out of her way to say she doesn't like Jews, then I definitely don't have to work with anyone that she's partnered with. So I just canceled that. I ordered it from somewhere else. It was not a big deal. But, you know, we all have our ethics and I get it. You do what you feel is right. And the right thing is to keep listening. That's the right thing. Because I may be the last bastion of sanity podcasting from a bunker. And you need to listen to me.
Would you ever, this is in 20 years, like, would you be someone that's like, you know what, I'm going to pivot and run for office now?
Yes.
I think it seems like a horrible job.
I think about it all the time.
It.
And I say it to my husband. He's like, you can't do it. I'm like, you don't think I could be president? He's like, no, it's not that I don't think you could. He's like, I think you would not like it.
It seems horrible. I really wouldn't want to.
I've got so many good ideas.
But they don't do any of them.
I mean, Donald Trump seems to be doing a lot of his ideas.
Well, those are all already in place and
well, that's also because he has
2025 or whatever.
Well, they the majority of everyone are conservatives. I may be more local. I got a lot of ideas. I
feel like you'd be great on a PTA, an HOA, you know what I mean, local issues. Did you rally
a PTA?
Like local?
That's not local. That's your kid's fucking school, Emily.
Well,
that's not like local economics.
You rallied your local people to like fight a AT&T tower or something.
No, what you just said, you completely diminished my idea. I'm like, I'd like to affect local economy. You're like, yeah, like a classroom or a bank sale. No, I would for sure be the dark horse in that race. And they'd be like, you know, she seems, I don't know, her ideas are a little radical. I need like a local government. Something that like secretly has a lot of power.
Yeah, you need to move to a weird part of LA where it's like a small community and you take over.
Yeah, they love it when white people do that. Like go somewhere obscure.
No, you go to one of
the
weird little white enclaves in the valley.
I gotta rewatch House of Cards, and I gotta really get a grip on how our government works. Next question.
Remember when he came back and he did that video like, I bet you missed me. And everybody's like, no, that show's over. Why are you back? It's Christmas. I gotta be here on Christmas.
Literally no one listening to this podcast remembers that. Like I don't have a mind for like filing away streaming television moments. Like I am watching season 2 of Severance right now. I almost no reference for the first season, even though I watched it and loved it.
This isn't even the show. He like did his own, he filmed his own separate video later where he's playing the character.
That's awful. Playing your character outside of your show is always cringy.
Like, y'all missed me. And everybody's like, no, we didn't.
Valentine's Day's fast approaching, and you don't want to find yourself grabbing a heart-shaped box of chocolates, do you? Why not a smaller box with a heart-shaped sapphire pendant necklace from Jared Jewelers inside? Shop Jared now for select diamond fashion and Italian gold jewelry for your Valentine. After all, life may be like a box of chocolates, but love is like a box with a Jared Jewelers logo on it. This Valentine's Day, be the he who went to Jared. Now get 40% off select fashion jewelry. Visit jared.com/radio for details.
Just in, and so good. Thousands of spring finds up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. And that means thousands of fresh reasons to rack.
How did I not know Rack has Adidas?
Why do we rack? For the hottest deals.
Save on Madewell, Vince, Kate Spade New York, Sam Edelman, Joe's, and more. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
Okay, we'll do a question.
Okay.
Somebody wrote in, and I like that they gave, like, in Patreon, it's a comment, but they gave their comment a little title, like it's an email, which is Final Resting Spat. Dear Iliza and Emily, I've got some red-hot family drama that I need help navigating. You can call me Ginny, 32, female, with a master's in nursing. Thank God.
Thank God, Jenny. For a second, I was afraid you couldn't be on this podcast.
My dad, 58, died from pancreatic cancer 10 days before Christmas. We were very close. It has been devastating. For context, my dad got remarried 3 years ago to his childhood sweetheart, Molly. I have two brothers, Fred and George, twins, age 40. Iliza, do you know what these names are? Ginny, Molly, Fred, and George, twins. Do you know?
I know Fred I don't know. Is it the Flintstones?
Harry Potter. Weasleys.
Okay, cool.
I hate Harry Potter, but I had to say that I knew. I am not that close with my brothers. We are very different people. To put it nicely, they can be immature, messy, and entitled. Back to the situation. My dad, Molly, and I discussed what he wanted us to do with his cremations.
We didn't read this already?
You probably read it.
You're sure you didn't read this?
Positive.
We had another question about remains. Nope, I just read this. Okay.
I think you just read this. He asked for his cremations to be buried. I think it's cremains, not to knock you while you're down, but I think it's cremains.
It sounds like an ocean spray snack. Like it's cremains, poppable.
He wanted to be his cremations to be buried under a tree at the local public park, and we are in the process of getting this approved. I mean, you just go there when no one's there, but that's nice of you. Yeah, here's the dilemma. My brothers disagree with this plan. They told me they want to split the ashes and bury half on our family's property. This property may not even stay in our family, which is why my dad didn't want to be buried there. My brothers also said they want to get cremation jewelry made, which we all agreed on. When Molly asked Fred what they wanted to do with the ashes, he told her he was getting a mediator involved because they disagree on the plan and said, I don't have to explain myself to you. I called Fred and told him that Molly and I are just following my dad's wishes based on conversations we had with him, but Fred said, well, I wasn't part of those conversations. Molly and I agree that it would be best to go ahead and pick up the cremations from the funeral home. She picked them up today and left a small amount for their jewelry. It's only a matter of time before my brothers find out. My question is, what should I do to keep the peace? Should I be proactive and tell them? Should I let Molly decide whether to tell them or let them find out on their own when they call the funeral home? My brothers and I are not close, but they are family and don't want to be on bad terms with the family I have left. For added context, Molly paid for all the funeral expenses. I found out today that my brothers also expected her to foot the bill for their cremation jewelry. No.
Why are your brothers so awful?
They're really bad. These bad little 40-year-old twins.
I think you nailed it. Like they're still your family. So you could do pretty awful things and they're still going to be your family. What you're offering is the fairest thing. They're being deliberately obstinate. Mm-hmm. And you're saying, let's split it. Dad really wanted this. It's a bummer your dad didn't write it down anywhere. Dad wanted this. They're like, well, we've got our own weird ideas. And you're like, great, here are some for you. Yeah. You can do with them what you wish. And I think it's fair to be like, what do you suggest I do? I completely ignore Dad's wishes. You get all of them. Molly pays for all of it. What you did is right. Don't think about it. I know it's a bummer you guys want to be close, but you're executing your dad's wishes and they got the ashes themselves. The truth is it doesn't matter because your dad is wherever you want him to be and he's in your heart and all of these things. But you are doing what your dad asked and what you believe is right, and they have their ashes to do what they want. And there's nothing more. It is the fairest thing.
I would the only thing is make sure that you left enough ashes to be made into cremain jewelry.
She said they did. But also
yeah.
What, now you're going to wear a diamond ring as a grown man? Like, what are you trying to get?
You know
like
what?
A ruby ear stud?
There's a cremains jewelry person that listens to this podcast, Sugarberry Memorials, and I got from them like a metal ring that you can put a little bit of ashes in yourself rather than it being made into a diamond. But yeah,
let me ask you something. You got a metal thing. Is it a pendant? Is it a pendant? Is it
ring.
A ring? Are you wearing that ring now?
No.
That's right. Granted, that's a pet that died. I just think there are these things that happen in life. Now, a parent dying is different, but like I remember when I was having Sierra, you're online and looking at mom stuff, and it was like a breast milk diamond to remember your breastfeeding journey. And I'm like, I don't want to remember this. And there are so many things that are built up, and then after they happen, it's like your class ring. Like I had to have an amethyst in it and had this thing on it, and I literally wore it for a year, and then it's just like in the bottom of a box somewhere. So your brothers are just being difficult, and this is the way that they're mourning the passing of their dad. I bet you that they were turds before this. That's their own issue. Be done with it. You did the right thing, and they don't need to wear brooches with their dead dad's ashes in them.
Now, when you figure out what you're going to do with the burying, make sure that whatever ceremony you decide to do with burying in the park, that they're invited to, and that's really your only obligation.
It doesn't matter. They're not going to come.
But the fact that they expected the stepmom to buy their cremation jewelry.
She paid for the cremation, but did she? Great. And she shouldn't.
No, she shouldn't.
Right. That's their weird choice. These guys have got their own issues going on. So if you want to sit down and have coffee and be like, what's this really about? I bet you can get one of them to break down, then the other one will crumble. But what you've done is the right thing, and that's crazy. And I'm sure I'll have to go. I know I'll have to go through it one day, but people always talk about like how crazy people get when someone dies, whether there's a will or being the executor of an estate. This is why you always have to write things down.
The
dad didn't write this down.
Are you the executor? Because I'm the executor for my household.
Executor.
Are you the executor for your parents' stuff?
I don't know.
Oh, I was just
I'll find
told.
out.
I was asked this week my mom's like, you should probably get a will made. And I was like,
No,
thanks.
you don't need to, but they should.
They do. They're like, we're having meetings about how you're the executor, so we'll go over that with you. And I was like, oh.
No, it's tough. It's tough to listen. My mom is like big on that stuff. She's got it all written down. Like that way, when I die, here's who gets what. We're done. And I can't imagine fighting with my brother or my aunts over that. My aunt, I only have one.
some are going to come out of the woodwork to fight you.
No. When I became famous, they already would have, and they haven't. So we're good.
It's true.
Oh, when I became famous, kill me.
When they first saw your shining star on Last Comic Standing, they said, we got to go take her for all she's worth.
Give me that TCBY coupon.
Okay, we have a question about the theme song. Hi, all. I've had about 2.5 glasses of wine after a grueling day of traveling from California to New York and decided now is the time I must ask this question that I've sat on since I discovered the pod in 2019-ish. Oh. I need to know what Iliza is saying, singing, screaming in the opening song in between the answers you ask me and help me. This has plagued me for years. I've been forced to substitute my own lyrics that I know are incorrect. Versions have included, I need an Emmy, outdated Emmy. I know that doesn't make sense, but that's what I hear the clearest.
I do need
and
one.
You, me, and Emmy. I'm 100% sure it's also not this, but I think it's kind of cute if we called Emily Emmy. What are you saying? I need answers, Jess.
The answer. You ask me. I'll tell you anything.
It's literally. I messed up the words, but I just didn't want to take it again. So I think it's the answer. You ask me, I'll tell you anything. It's just like a stutter step.
Help. Yeah.
Help me. Yep.
Yeah.
The answer you ask me, I'll tell you anything. Like, it's not a satisfying answer because I think you're like,
oh yeah, you're right, Emmy. I'll tell you anything. It sounds like an Emmy. Okay, yeah, it's anything.
Sure. I think you're looking for like a Da Vinci Code kind of answer about Masonic goings, but no, it's just me stutter stepping.
You're in the Illuminati now, right? Have they let you in yet?
I can't talk about it.
I would be so mad if you were having secret celebrity meetings and not telling me about them. I'd be furious.
Yeah.
Please
you would be the first one I would tell. The second I get invited, I'm letting you know. Yeah.
Thank you. I need to know. Okay. When we're looking at questions to answer, I feel like some of you have figured out that there are certain ones we answer, certain ones we don't. Now, we love context, but Iliza can only listen to me struggle to read for so long. So if your question is too long, I just can't do it. So just think about that. I just skipped one that was too long. All right. Hey, pod crew, multiple question asker here. And I don't know if that means there's multiple questions in this question or you've gotten in before.
It means they've asked multiple questions.
Okay. Well, and
if she says multiple question asker, so I'm the asker that has multiple questions.
Multiple questions.
Versus multiple questions being asked here, strap in.
Fair.
I think.
Oh, yes. Okay. I am the bereaved mother who lost my 4-year-old girl, Saffron. I previously wrote about how horrible my sister-in-law was at her son's birthday when my father-in-law paid for the whole family's meal. Thank you for seeing what my husband and I think is so obvious, but we seem to be the only ones who find her behavior disgusting. We have 100% cut her out of our lives since then, almost 2 years ago, which unfortunately means we do not get to see our nieces or nephews. I could do a whole thing on her, but she's not why I'm writing this.
That question was 2 years ago? Or you just wrote in like later?
I think it might. Oh, God.
No.
Who knows? 2 years?
You got to find out, Emily. No, there's no way. Because I remember it. There's just no way.
Yeah. Or you have just an incredible memory. I am writing about my best friend of 20 years. Let's call her Missy. We had kind of a weird falling out that I go back and forth on if it's me and my grief. Here's the context. September, my baby sister had her daughter, which has been wonderful, of course. My frustration comes with my mom. I also wrote in years ago about how controlling my mom could be, insisting I stay home when I had Saffron. Okay, we've been through like 5 years of this person's life with them.
It's been quite the journey.
It's been the journey.
This is the kind of service we offer here at Ask Iliza Anything. We're with you.
Yeah.
All the way to the end, to the funeral jewelry.
Yeah.
To the cremation jewelry.
My mom's need to control everything drives me crazy. Always has. She's constantly second guessing my sister and brother-in-law when it comes to their baby, just like she did to me and my husband. When I vented these frustrations to Missy, I was met with what I felt was a very condescending response. Basically along the lines of, oh, well, it's not your problem what your sister does. Like, obviously, it's her choice to deal with my mom, but I am also allowed to say when I'm annoyed at seeing how she's all over my sister when it comes to her baby. My sister and I have both dealt with pretty severe postpartum anxiety, and I believe my mom being that way is a contributing factor. I waited a couple days to make sure I didn't speak out of turn, but I messaged Missy letting her know that she rubbed me the wrong way in that conversation. I basically felt like she was lecturing me like one of her kids. She has 2 and is a teacher. I also feel like
Sorry, Missy's her sister? I missed
Missy's her friend who Missy was
okay.
like talking to her about her sister and was like condescending.
Missy was talking about our
listener's sister.
Got
our
it.
listener is like, my mom's being horrible to my sister. And Missy's like, okay, it's none of your business.
Right. She didn't have time for it, is what it is.
Right.
She's got 2 kids, and she's like, I don't have time to compartmentalize this complaining about your own sister. Like, what? I've heard this.
So our question asker says, I also feel like she has been weird to me since Saffron's death, who is her child, her own child, our question asker. I get that it's really hard to navigate for someone on the outside, but I promise you it is 1,000 times harder for my husband and I to live it. Yeah.
No one's like, I bet this is harder on your friends.
She came back with not wanting me to spiral, so she wanted me to be positive. But who in their right mind wants that when they're venting?
Oh, my God.
I wasn't even talking about my grief. I was talking about my annoyance with my mom. She has seen firsthand how my mom can be. I told her that, yes, my grief is always there no matter what. I am always missing and thinking of Saffron, but I'm still the same person I was before. And sometimes I'm just grasping for any sense of normalcy. The red flag for me is when she responded, I'm just a people fixer. Like, I'm sorry, what? How do you even think you could fix my kid being dead?
I don't think that's what she meant.
No.
I just don't think that's what she meant.
It's been so weird since I don't really know what to do from here. She doesn't take any sort of criticism well. She got so defensive the last time I brought up an issue. We went 2 months without talking, and then she sent my husband and I Xmas gifts out of nowhere. So, of course, I messaged her to thank her, then sent obligatory gift cards to her kids. Am I wrong to feel the ick toward her? Was I too harsh in my assessment of the messages? I know my grief adds another complicated layer, but I still just want to be normal. Thank you for all you do and for always answering our questions with a no-nonsense approach. P.S. So bummed I couldn't make it to your live taping. I've had to use a lot of my PTO, so I'm sure you could, as I'm sure you can imagine. PPS? I was born and raised in South Africa, so I always have a good laugh when you try your South African accent.
I do such a bad job.
To be fair, it's a tough one because we have 11 official languages, which means the accent changes depending on where you are.
Well, that's any country. Listen, sometimes we get questions on this podcast, and, it's supposed to be a comedy podcast, and you're asking my hot takes about bridesmaids, whatever. Yeah. I think we try to do I think Emily and I do a pretty good job of like being like, also, we're human women, and here's some rock hard advice, rock solid advice. I cannot imagine a greater horrific pain than losing your child. And so it's tough because I want to give you all the grace in the world because that is so incomprehensibly horrible. But you keep saying, I want to go back to being normal. You're not going to. You cannot, and you're not. You're like, I'm still the same person I was. You're not. You're just not. And I think you need to make not so much peace with that, but at least be in a space where you are in real time recognizing all of that. I'm not the same person I was. I mean, in some respects, of course, because I didn't have a lobotomy, although it feels like it sometimes. But I'm not the same person I was before I had Sierra. I'm definitely not the same person I was before I had Ethan. Like, I am in shock often at like how different I am. Emotional capacity, my views on stuff, empathy, for better or for worse. Not all of it's great. And so to lose a child after they're only 4, so you still are reeling from having this baby, you're not the same. And I think that there's a bit of denial there. I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong. I'm just saying I also think when we are, I found this for myself, when I am the least stimulated, I tend to look for like tiny annoying I find that people irritate me more.
Yeah.
When I'm say, on a break or when I've stepped away and I don't have a lot going on. Let's say I've turned in everything and I'm not touring. I find that I tend to get like a little gossipy and I'm a little extra annoyed by when you are doing stuff, when you are fulfilled and or busy and things are taking up your day, you don't really have the time to fetch about like little things. Like we can always be annoyed at people, and that's part of having female friends and women in our lives, that you always get to be like, I'm often like just a little annoyed at people, but I find that I have more time for that bullshit when I am not as stimulated. So your friend probably doesn't really know how to deal with the new you. And I'm not saying that that's okay. I'm not saying it's bad, but she also has 2 kids and has this job. So she kind of doesn't have the time for that in the way that you perhaps when you had your daughter didn't necessarily have time for all the little things that you may have had time for. I do think it's worth sitting down with your friend without the padding of, I'm so annoyed by my mom and my sister and all of these things that your friend really has nothing to do with. It'd be one thing if it was something done directly to you, or if like you guys always bonded at how annoying Missy always was.
Right.
But I think these things are being talked about. And it's not that you have to cry to your friend about your daughter and you're allowed to heal the way you want to. But I think having an open and honest discussion, like, I'm not the same person I was. And she has to become friends with this new version of you. And she doesn't necessarily have to. But I think you are preemptively annoyed with her. And she's also grappling in real time with the version of you that you are now. And it just sounds like we're not talking about the thing, which is the ongoing grief that you are living through. And you're trying to come into this new version of who you are, for better or for worse.
I think there are 2 things also happening here. One, of course, being that I get so annoyed when I would vent about someone and the other person's like, oh, they're not that bad. It's like, no, they're the worst person on the earth. This person I'm talking about right now is worse than Satan when I'm talking about them.
People who won't commiserate with you.
Back
just
me
like,
up.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I catch you on your way to church?
Yeah.
You fucking saint.
Like, it pisses me off. It makes me so mad. So that's one part, right? Like Missy, I'm pissed at Missy because she's not giving you like, yeah, your mom is fucking annoying.
That's what you
like,
want
that's
from
what
your
you
best
want.
friend.
Yes.
Is that.
But the other piece of this, which has nothing really to do with Missy's reaction here, but this question was actually titled, like, is my grief pushing people away? I think the thing is, if I'm Missy and I have 2 kids, it doesn't matter how not even incredibly, but how mature you've been in dealing with this horrible tragedy. Every time I'm talking to you, if I'm like, oh, I got to bring my kids to school, I'm like, oh, fuck, I didn't mean to bring up my kids. Oh, shit. Like, oh, not that I have kids. Oh, I need to go see my kids, but it's okay that you don't have kids. Like, and that has nothing to do. You could be the most open, like wonderful person in the world. I'm the other person in the situation. I'm going to be constantly worried about saying the wrong thing. But if this woman is your best friend, you need to address the elephant in the room heads on. Like, hey, Missy, I'm going to talk about this and you can talk about your kids. Because Missy probably feels like she can't vent because she's like, what am I going to do? Say that like a kid threw up today at school. I'm a teacher and your daughter passed. Like it feels, the relationship is going to feel unequal to her through no fault of your own.
Right. So going back to what I said, you need to have a serious come to Jesus.
Yeah.
Because she's not a bitch. She is your friend. And she too is not only trying to figure out her place in your life now that you've suffered this loss, but also how to be around you. And you're saying like, hey, I'm still me. You're not.
Yeah.
But I think a real friend goes with you on this journey. And so I think it is sitting down to be like, here's what I need. Here's what you can do. You can always talk about your kids. Like, I love you. I love those kids. And I just still want you to be my friend, because I think she's also not sure where she stands and something got weird and now it's even weirder. So, and I do think your grief, and I'm not blaming you, but you asked, is pushing people away. I think it's making you, if I listen to the things that you're writing in, it's a lot of like, ever since this happened, like, here's who I'm pushing away, which also makes sense. Why would you ever want to look at anyone or anything that reminded you of this horrible thing that happened? You're angry, and you should be. And so maybe you're taking it out on these few things that you can control. Like when I get stressed, I like peel off all my toenails, not from the root, but like the edges. And I like destroy my feet because it's this like little thing that I can do. It's not going to hurt anyone, but like.
It hurts you.
No, it's just your nails. But like, you know, you're just sort of not lashing out, but taking it out on the things around you. But that's not going to help ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think if you would like to keep this person as a friend, you can kind of lay out how you're feeling, what you're dealing with, and then you can kind of go from there. But this just like random taking it out on people and pushing people away, it's not going to lead to anything good.
Yeah. And I think you can have an honest conversation with her. I mean, I was mad at work. The way that I was being asked to do something at work was pissing me off. So when Iliza texted me a question, I was immediately pissed at her. But then I had to be like, sorry, I'm mad at work. I'm not trying to be difficult because I can tell you that. Because we talk, because we're actual friends now.
I think
say it on the pod.
Sure, we're friends. You are my friend. I think you'll be surprised. Not unlike our listener who like talked to her military husband and he helped her out. I think you'll be surprised if you give her the moment to be compassionate and tell her how much she loves you. She will rise to the occasion, you know, or she can't handle it, which is it's shitty, but that's also fair.
I only like positivity in my life.
Yeah, like you don't know what to say to them. And so these are things that unless you go through them, you kind of don't know what to do. And people forget that, you know, you're a human too. But at the very least, have that conversation. Okay.
All right.
Can we do a light one?
That's
I'm
exactly.
so bummed
We
out
have
now.
a light one before we
sad.
do our cobs. Girl code? I grew up with a dad and a brother and was not taught, quote, girl code. In college, my cousin, who was like a sister to me, but we didn't always live near each other, who we'll call Penny, had a BF we'll call Raj. I don't know why they're not calling that person Leonard. You know what those names are, right?
No. Oh, from Big Bang Theory.
Your friend, yeah. In college, okay, so I had a BF we'll call Raj in college and they broke up. I was told amicably, and my cousin told me that Raj and I could still be friends. I took her at her word and kept hanging out with Raj after Penny dropped out of college. On one of our hangouts, Raj asked if he could take me out on a real date. I said I would have to talk to Penny about it first and left it at that. I texted Penny's sister, Bernadette, to ask if this was kosher or not.
Why didn't you just call Penny? Why are you calling Bernadette? Like, why circumvent?
Bernadette said no, and I said, cool, glad I checked in. Please don't tell Penny. Bernadette immediately told Penny.
Yeah.
And I was iced out of the family for months, and I had no clue why, since I assumed that confidences would be kept, and I hadn't gone out with Raj yet. Come to find out, the reason Raj and Penny broke up was because Raj sexually assaulted Penny, and she fell into a depression after, but didn't share with me till years after the fact. Based on what I knew at the time, was I wrong to keep hanging out with Raj? Should I not have asked Bernadette, or should I have gone to Penny directly? Should I have known something bad went down? Hopefully that's enough context. Please keep me anonymous, and thanks for the sisterly advice.
Doesn't matter. It all happened. You should have gone to Penny directly, and then all of this garbage happened, none of which was your fault. At the time, this was just a guy that your cousin dated, and she dropped out of college. She wasn't in your world. I don't know. I know why you went to the sister. I know why you went to Bernadette, because you knew the answer was no. You knew something was weird and you're like, maybe I'll just ask someone else and kind of get the okay.
Right.
You did something weird.
You're not so out of touch that you didn't think to ask anyone. You're like, someone needs to be asked.
Yeah, if you truly had no guilty conscience about it, you wouldn't have asked, because you'd be like, whatever, you don't even live here. Who cares? I barely see you. You knew it was wrong. You knew something was weird. You did it anyway.
I think it's unfair of them to set that expectation based on what? How could you want to go out with him? He sexually assaulted her. You didn't know that. So that's a different piece of the puzzle. But saying you didn't learn girl code because you grew up with a dad and brothers, like,
no, that's
I don't think
silly.
your mom, I don't think a mom
That's
or a
right.
sister teaches you. Your friend, like, you just pick it up.
Yeah, my mom was never like, well, I'm going to flirt with this guy, Iliza. Girl code, remember? Girl code. Girl code is not even a thing. I mean, you're younger than us, so like, but that like wasn't a thing that was talked about until like the early 2000s. So,
right.
And girl code, it's such a fickle thing. And you, by the way, because this man sexually assaulted your cousin, now you're going to bear the brunt of it. Even though you're going to be like, I didn't know that. They're going to be like, well, it still feels bad. You're still going to be the woman that tried to go out with this guy who dated your cousin. I never understand when people are like, there's only one man in the world and he dated both of my friends. Is it cool if I keep hanging out with him? Like, You're in college. Find someone else.
Right. Yeah.
The issue is you didn't go to Penny, and it was on your mind enough. You knew what you did was a little weird because you didn't go to Penny because something was stopping you from doing it.
I mean, it's very Lindsay Lohan in Mean Girls, where she's like, I didn't know. I just asked this person. And then I can't believe that this whole time they were talking about it and my confidence was betrayed. Of course your confidence was betrayed. Are you kidding me?
So hopefully you're in a place where you could just move on. You're not friends with any of these people. And you do have the leg to stand on of like, I didn't know he did that.
Yeah. And now you have to decide, are you still friends with this man if he sexually assaulted your cousin?
Yeah. So it's very messy.
It is messy.
Sloppy.
What about a confession?
Let's do a confession. And I'd also like to say, I saw on our Patreon, a fan said she really doesn't like the animal songs.
Everybody else loves it. I don't know what you all want. Now people want Fight Me Back.
You guys have to contribute. And honestly, I kind of hear you. I thought it would be much more satisfying to hear the animal songs, and it is kind of fun, but she said she loved confessions. Well, then send in a confession.
Yeah.
This is a true democracy.
Yeah. Confession from my early 20s, approximately 17 years ago. I worked for a T-Mobile call center as a customer service representative. I was/am typically a bubbly, happy, and helpful woman. I had dealt with plenty of unhappy customers, but most people remained somewhat respectful. Anyway, one day a girl called in with the shittiest attitude and cussed me out because her bill was too high. I went over every charge with her and did my best to explain. She wasn't satisfied and demanded to speak to my supervisor. Having dealt with her shit long enough and knowing my supervisor was swamped with real work, I terminated the call, which might have been against company policy. Then I set a password on her account so when she called back, she wouldn't be able to access her account or talk to anyone. This was also a no-no concerning company policy. She had to physically walk in our T-Mobile store with her ID to change the password. Please don't roast me. This is a real confession.
This is a real confession. And part of me is on your side but part of me is like, yeah, I know you guys drop those calls all the time. Somehow my phone works perfectly. But when you call any of these phone tree kind of things, somehow the call gets dropped.
And then you have to start the process over.
Yeah, and it's usually because they don't want to pay for your claim or they know you're right. But you know what? I get it. You're like, there's only so much I can do. I don't know. I don't think I'm above minor retribution against someone. And it's not like you locked her out and it was like you stole her Minority Report. Like she could get it fixed. She just has to go to a horrible T-Mobile store, which is its own horrible thing because they make you like put your name in and then they call you and then they're waiting and it's a special hell going to a cell phone store. That's a good confession.
Because it's one that like with your history of your personal history with cell phone stores, it's like you're anti-cell phone store, but in this case, we're pro-cell phone store employee.
I mean, I've had horrible interactions with both, but you know what? You can't call someone. Whenever I have like an issue, I never take it out on the person trying to help me. I'm like, I know this isn't you. It's your company's horrible policy. I know everything is designed to make sure that we are exhausted and we don't get what we paid for. It's only ever helpful to be nice to the person talking to you because they often have more power than you realize, especially for like airline stuff. That person should not have been cussing at you.
I love befriending some random customer service person. I had a great chat with the receptionist at my cat's eye doctor the other day.
Okay, we got to move on. We got to move on. This is your whole biography. It's just women I've met along the way. Top of the cob. Bottom of the cob.
Bottom of the cob.
It's the top of the cob. We're doing it right every day. You just take a bite. Top of the cob.
Go. Bottom of the cob. Okay, do you want me to read
bottom of the cob.
Do you want me to read a fans or you want to go?
Go ahead.
Dearest Iliza and Emily. Oh, well, this one's really... Do you want a really sad one? A really sad bottom?
Fuck it. Yeah.
Fan bottom. Personal connection plane accident. Dearest Iliza and Emily, Sasha Kirsanov was among those who died in the plane accident last Wednesday. He was my ice dance coach for a number of years. Sasha is survived by his beautiful wife, Natalia, and daughter, Nicole. Sasha was talented, patient, kind, and generous with his time. He leaves behind a huge legacy working with all sorts of skaters from varying levels. He was consistently the brightest light in the rink. As a young skater, I'm not ashamed to admit that I also had the biggest crush on him that it was at times hard to concentrate. So for the listeners of the pod to know, he was an extraordinary athlete and brightened up many rinks with his quick humor and smile. I hate waking up in the morning remembering that this horrific tragedy has occurred. Sasha was taken way too early. Thank you for reading.
That is so heartbreaking. That plane crashed, and as a nation, I think we all just like stumbled a little bit, just because that is so, you never hear about civilian aircrafts crashing like that. Like, it made the whole day so dark, and I'm sorry. Oh God.
It is really hard. I have to say, like, in this submission of this, like, I love that you're memorializing this person, but I also really love that you did want people to know that he's hot. Like, there's something sweet about that. Like, I feel like, think about when you did classes as a kid. I went to a circus camp and I never learned to unicycle because if you didn't know how to unicycle, the hot guy instructor had to hold your arms and walk you around the rink. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, those like when you're a kid and you're learning something and some weird, slightly older boy is really good at it and you're like, oh my God, like that.
Guess I'll never learn, so you always have to hold me.
There is something sweet about, like, this guy lit up a room. He was great at his job, but also, like, she had a little crush.
He was smoking hot, and there's something extra horrible about hot people dying.
Wow.
It just dims the light. No, it's really awful. And let's go to something frivolous. My bottom of the cob is, as a woman, just kind of like 9 times out of 10, like not feeling 10 out of 10. Like, you're just always, there's always something. And you don't want to be annoying about it, but like the other, I was like, why don't I feel good? Well, I'm a little stuffed up. Well, my throat hurts a little bit from yelling on stage. Well, my back, well, I feel like a little, there's always, it's just like, why can't we just be at 100%? Why are we always like semi-inflamed or a little depressed or a little sad or the weight of the world or it's something physical or I have like a phantom pain where I had that horrible biopsy? Like, what? Why can't it just be, I feel great. I got out of bed, I felt great.
My bottom is kind of the same. Like, last week, there were like 3 nights where I was like, I'm just vaguely nauseous. I'm trying to figure out, is it my period? Is it this? Like, I have a headache. Is it hormones? Is it water intake? Is it caffeine intake?
Yeah.
Is it, and did I eat enough? Did I not eat? And you're just like, why? I do need water.
That's what it is.
I do need water, but I also was just like kind of nauseous, just laying there like, I just don't feel great.
I just don't feel great and I can't quite put my finger on it.
Yeah.
And I had a cold 2 weeks ago and because I do a billion, like never gave myself a chance to heal. And then the air in LA is shitty. And then I coughed up something weird. And then
what came out?
It was like yellow. And it's just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Okay. Top of the cob.
Top of the cup.
Please.
Please. Okay, let's see.
I actually did have sex with Sasha. He was my coach. Smoking hot then. He was smoking hot now.
Oh, okay. Fan top. Top of the cob. When you are shopping for something specific and the very thing you need happens to be on clearance. Went to Home Goods to get a new indoor garbage can and the perfect one was just waiting for me in that back corner.
It was just waiting for me among 800,000 other discarded Valentine's Day themed trash cans.
And weird snacks that don't expire for a few years.
Yeah, like I was at REI. REMs. Ready to eat meals. REIs. What's your top?
My top is kind of insane, but so I just got the email that my company's employee review cycle is starting. And I'm like, good. I love the chance to justify. Like, so I have to write my own self-review. My manager has to write a review. And then we have to like talk about what each of us wrote. And I'm just like, you want me to say how much I'm doing for you? Yes, I'm on the case. I'm ready to write a manifesto. I'm going to be in a cabin somewhere waiting for them to read it.
Cabin?
Like a Unabomber.
Cool reference. Cool, super timely reference.
How weird is it that they took that whole cabin and like put it in a museum? Like they took the cabin that he was in and like the logs of it are in a museum.
What museum?
Oh, probably some weird, where is it? Oklahoma, Idaho, Kansas?
Why would you ever want that? Why would you ever? It's Oklahoma. It was Oklahoma City.
Feels very haunted. Well, there's that Museum of Death in LA where they have like beds set up from Heaven's Gate. And you're like, should this be here? This is gross.
Isn't the Museum of Death sponsored by Scientology because they're anti-psychiatry?
It's 2 different things. There's a mystic death museum.
Supposed to
and
be
then there's the psychiatry one.
Okay.
And I've been to both.
Great. That's cool. But that's where you were before you found me. My top of the cob is you are listening to this on February 5th, which is a Wednesday. And today we are filming Iliza's Locals for season 2. And I will be directing it, which is something that when I was in college, I wanted to be a director. And then I kind of just found comedy and being in it. And I just was like, well, whatever. I don't watch a lot of movies. But I'm really excited to direct this and host it. And we're going to give all these comics 8 to 10 minute sets. And we're going to put it on a major streaming platform. But I'm going to direct it. So if it looks cool, just know that was me.
Can you give any timeline info on when your special will be coming out? Because people are asking, I've just told people, I've told 2 people this year.
The announcement is coming out on a very big outlet very soon.
Okay.
And the special will be out imminently.
Okay.
We're talking next several weeks imminently. I cannot give you the date until the announcement comes because those are the PR rules, but it's coming.
I
So
think
get
I
ready.
said definitely this year, probably in the next 6 months.
It's in spring. No.
Okay.
I have the exact date.
Okay.
Folks, speaking of dates, you can see me at the KeyBank State Theater in Cleveland on February 21st, and then my birthday at the Benedum Center in Pittsburgh on February 22nd. Tickets at Iliza.com/tour. And of course, I'm coming to see you, Toronto, March 14th. I'm also coming to Buffalo at the Shea's Buffalo Theater. I'm wondering if it's the same Shea as Shea Stadium, which is not there anymore, on March 15th. And then, of course, we're doing a run of shows in Florida at the end of March at the various Hard Rocks. We've got the Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida, the Hard Rock Live in Orlando, Florida on the 29th, and then the 30th, the Hard Rock Event Center in Tampa. So get your tickets at Iliza.com/tour. And by then you will have seen my new special.
Wait, so you're saying it's Shea as in SHEA, not Shea as in CHEZ Buffalo, which is what I thought it was. Like Shea Buffalo. Do you know what I mean?
Shea Buffalo? Yeah.
Yeah, that voice.
Just sticking the least elegant word in the English language.
Right. Buffalo.
Welcome to the Buffalo House.
Do you think someone could ever say buffalo in an appealing manner?
Yeah. Italians. Buffalo. It's an Italian word.
I think of mozzarella.
Well, that's always.
I wanted all the drama.
Valentine's Day's fast approaching, and you don't want to find yourself grabbing a heart-shaped box of chocolates, do you? Why not a smaller box with a heart-shaped sapphire pendant necklace from Jared Jewelers inside? Shop Jared now for select diamond fashion and Italian gold jewelry for your Valentine. After all, life may be like a box of chocolates, but love is like a box with a Jared Jewelers logo on it. This Valentine's Day, be the he who went to Jared. Now get 40% off select fashion jewelry. Visit jared.com/radio for details.
Just in, and so good. Thousands of spring finds up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. And that means thousands of fresh reasons to rack.
How did I not know Rack has Adidas?
Why do we rack? For the hottest deals.
Save on Madewell, Vince, Kate Spade New York, Sam Edelman, Joe's, and more. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.